Sona Camp. Sona is definitely one of the most amazing young women I've had a chance to work with at the Miss Asian Global Pageant. Sona, if I'm not mistaken, we're kind of almost full circle in your life here because your story, if I'm not mistaken, begins in this area.
Yes, everyone, thank you so much for coming. And I'm so glad to speak at Imagine Talk at Stanford University. And speaking of Stanford, actually, my earliest memory starts in this very campus. My uncle was pursuing his PhD here, and I was living in his student apartment with him for a while. So I was just in this campus when I was 2-3 years old, looking at squirrels, eating Fruit Loop jellies, and stuff like that. So Stanford has this huge meaning to me, just this campus where I basically grew up in.
So during that time, you, if I'm not mistaken, also remember, you also had an impression of what you wanted to do. You already knew you wanted to come back to America at one point. So you're from Korea originally, right? Did you already know that you want to come back to America at that age? Or at that early of an age?
Yeah, well, my first language is somewhere in between Korean and English. So I had a lot of language crisis and also identity crisis following that. I was born in Korea, but I grew up in many different areas, including the Bay Area, Los Angeles, and Vancouver, Canada. I also lived in Chicago, Illinois. So when I went back to Korea after my time in Vancouver, my mom promised me that if I go to good college, she will let me go and come back here. So I studied really hard to pass the notorious Korean SAT. I went to Seoul National University, which is one of the best colleges in Korea. So, and I also graduated summa cum laude, so I kept my end of my promise. Well, my mom let me go. I moved to Chicago just right after that for grad school.
Why was it so important for you to come back or to come to America as part of your personal mission?
Yeah, well, especially when I was growing up in Vancouver, I was living with a homestay, so everyone was white people around me. I was the only Asian in my entire elementary school, so it was really hard for me to fit in. I was obviously very different looking than them. So to fit in, also I was really good at math, and that stereotypical Asian feature did not help me get friends. So I really wanted to look like them. So talking about that, do you guys know the story of Ace of Abel, Crows with Borrowed Feathers? I'm literally wearing it. But it's a story about a black crow wanting to look like the colorful birds like them. So it took all the beautiful feathers from other birds and pretended that it's a colorful bird. But when one day rain came down and it washed everything away, so the crow had to come back to its black colored bird itself. So like that, I had a lot of imposter syndrome growing up. I always applied really thick sky blue eyeshadow on me to look like them. I always dressed like them. And I always hung out in malls. I don't even like malls till today. So I just really wanted to be like them. And I was the crow that was borrowing all the feathers from my friend. So growing up like that, I was neither Korean nor Korean American nor American. So I really wanted to find myself and find a place where my identity is celebrated rather than questioned.
So when you came out here, finally as an adult, right, when you finished your college, you actually had a pretty rough start. Tell me if you're okay sharing with everyone here, what was some of the, I guess, the hard parts you had to really grow up with when you first came out as an adult in America?
Yeah, when I came to Chicago, I was 25 years old, and I came back to the US after living in Korea for a while now. So I still had a lingering of identity crisis and not being too sure what my identity was. And I had a partner then, and he was an Asian American guy who grew up in the US. And he was pretty successful guy too on paper. So I really truly believed in everything he said. And the thing that everything he said was that whatever I did, whatever I said, he was like, that's too Korean of you. And I thought, I believed him. I thought, okay, then maybe I have to change myself. And he always said that if you want to fit in, you have to do something differently. And that fitting in is my trigger word. So I tried to fit in as he said. And I did the American way that he said to do and change myself. And one day after maybe 2 years, I had this epiphany that, well, but everything I'm doing is not making anything better, and I'm losing myself. I'm losing my values and who I truly am. So I broke up with him, obviously. And but while I was breaking up with him, I had to go through the most shocking event in my life. I went through domestic violence, and I had to go to the emergency room and write police reports that I didn't even know what really police report was. So it was very shocking for me. But also, when I wanted to do the order of protection against him, which is also as known as restraining order, I took all my doctor's note and the police note to the police officer. And the chief police officer was looking through all the notes, and she literally said to me, word for word, I don't think America's working out for you. You should go back to your country. And I was so shocked that I couldn't even process that was discrimination for like a few seconds, because I went to a police station which I believed that I could trust them and a law enforcement that would actually help me. But discrimination was the only thing that was offered to me. That was when I realized that, okay, then I'm on my own. I can only reach out to my own community and figure this out myself. That was when I met a nonprofit organization, Kanwin, that helped me through with a pro bono lawyer and my entire trauma therapy. So now I've seen all that and what nonprofit actually does to people who actually need help in their darkest time in their life. So that is when I started my own nonprofit organization, HerArt Foundation, and I still work with Kanwin and a lot of domestic violence survivors around me with art and art therapy myself.
Tell us more about now your discovery, how you identify yourself now, the work you do with HerArt Foundation, and also I would say the journey you've taken with the Miss Asian Global pageant, when that's how you and I met. What does this new track and new journey of life look like for you now?
Yeah, well, my organization is growing, which is good. And through Miss Asian Global and being Miss Asian San Francisco, I really got this huge platform and support from the communities, especially the Asian American communities, to really grow and amplify the mission and the voice that I really want to support and uplift more. So my nonprofit, our mission is advocating through art, and through this I really want to talk about the human rights and how prevalent the domestic violence are in our community. And leading that, I really believe in my mission and my commitment to this. So I'll be applying to law school this year and try to become a future lawyer that speaks up for the underrepresented and underserved communities.
What are some of the missions you feel like you want to now impact into the community based on as a lawyer in the future, but also now as a founder of the nonprofit?
Yeah, something I would really want to show is that survivor leadership and survivor voice is real, that resilience and the stories that we want to offer to the community is there. We don't just die out after going through all those unfortunate events that affect our life. I really want to show them that there are help out there, and nonprofit actually does really great work. Also, Asian America Foundation does really great work too. So they are here to help us, and this mission, everything is really important to make our community into a safer place where every voice is being heard, every walks of life is being respected, and every people that make this, every person, each individual in this community is worth and making something great in us.
I'm curious, what is your relationship now with your parents? Since they wanted you to stay in Korea, and you came out to California, but not only did you survive some of the worst of it, but you also reinvented yourself from it. What's your relationship now like with your parents?
I'm a first-generation immigrant, so I basically immigrated myself over here by myself. So my parents are fully Korean. I'm the only one out here other than my relatives. So my parents, they miss me. I miss them a lot. I always call dad and cry. He's getting older, so that really affects me and the definition of family to me. But I feel free here. I finally found a home that I am also respected and I am very comfortable. I also build my own community in Chicago and also here that is supportive to my mission and my dreams. So the relationship with my parents, I think we're also very stable right now. Having a little bit of space and time apart from each other is also healthy in a way. So I have a younger brother and sister. Brother is 10 years younger than me, entirely different decade. We grew up watching different shaped Pokemon. So it's really hard to communicate with them, but having an international experience myself gives me a wider perspective and really good, I think, insight that can give him that world is much bigger than he thinks and there's so much opportunity out there. So he should actually go out there and see for himself. There are so many different pathways in life that is also should be respected. So that is what I'm trying to tell my brother and sister, especially as the oldest sister in my family, and also to help them, give them opportunity that I might have not had when I was younger.
I'm curious, if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self when you were like 5 years old, what would you say to her now, if you could say one thing to her?
I think to a 5-year-old myself, I would want to tell her to be happy because I was a very philosophical kid. I thought a lot, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I thought very deeply into a lot of crises I had. And I want to tell her that things will get better and I have the power to figuring things out myself. And so that always be happy, enjoy each day and each moment of your life because it's not coming back, and that I believe in myself. Things will be better, always better, and tomorrow will be always happier.
You actually said something that I want to expand on. How do you now, today, the way you live, make sure you don't take it for granted each day? How do you make sure that each day you actually are very present and very thankful for what you have? What are some of the rituals you go through to make sure?
Yeah, I was a very ungrateful kid, but now I always thank for everything I have. I grew up comfortably, so I'm thankful for that. I always wanted more when I was younger, but I'm really happy that I didn't have to go through deep adversity. And I have a happy family. I have a rabbit and a dog. So I'm really grateful for their support also, and great community, great mentor, Francis. So I just tell myself I'm grateful for everything. I always remind myself, and I also write long diaries every day.
What's the vision you have for HerArt, and what do you hope that it can do in terms of maybe from a community and also a global expansion, if that's something that can happen?
Yeah, I really believe in the power of art, that art is a visual medium, so it doesn't require any language, it doesn't require anything too special to look at it and enjoy it and really process the meaning behind it. So I really want to make this art happen because it's a statement and it's something that can last even forever in the history. So it gives a really strong language, and HerArt Foundation, I hope that it can be a platform for people to express themselves freely, talk about their experiences. I always thought about what the responsibility of artists is, and I reached the conclusion that we are visual historians. We document the human experience and stories, and that is something of a lasting impact. So with HerArt Foundation and so many of these great visual historians, I really want to give a positive and lasting impact in our community.
Thank you so much for joining us here today, Sona. Thank you.
Thank you.